The flickering parking lot lights cast long shadows across the asphalt as Tessa Blackburn clutched her purse tighter to her chest, cursing herself for working so late. The quarterly financial review could have waited until morning, but as the newly appointed CEO of Horizon Technologies, she felt the constant need to prove herself worthy of the position. Now, at nearly midnight in the deserted corporate park, each echo of her heels against the concrete felt like a beacon announcing her vulnerability to whoever might be lurking in the darkness. Wade Young didn't plan to be at the office complex this late. His cleaning business wasn't exactly thriving, but it paid the bills mostly. As a single father to 7-year-old Lily, he took whatever jobs came his way, including this last-minute request to clean the offices at Meridian Insurance after hours. It meant calling in a favor from his sister to watch Lily, but the extra cash would help cover next week's groceries. He was loading his equipment into his battered pickup truck when he noticed her, a slender woman in a tailored suit, walking briskly toward the far end of the parking lot, repeatedly glancing over her shoulder. Even from a distance, he could see the tension in her posture. A group of men loitered near the edge of the property, their laughter carrying across the otherwise silent lot. Nothing about them seemed particularly threatening to Wade, probably just some guys hanging out after a late shift, but he could understand why a woman alone might feel differently. Without overthinking it, Wade closed his truck door and jogged in her direction. "Excuse me," he called out, keeping his voice friendly but not too loud. Tessa whirled around, her hand already reaching into her purse for the pepper spray her brother had insisted she carry. Wade slowed his pace immediately, raising his hands in a non-threatening gesture. "Sorry, didn't mean to startle you. I just noticed you seemed a bit nervous. Would you like someone to walk you to your car?" Tessa regarded him cautiously. He was tall, with broad shoulders and a work-worn face that somehow managed to look kind despite the exhaustion evident in his eyes. His clothes were simple jeans and a faded gray t-shirt with Young's Cleaning Service printed across the front. "I'm fine, thank you," she replied automatically, the response ingrained after years of keeping professional boundaries intact. Wade nodded respectfully. "No problem. Have a good night." He turned to leave but paused when he heard her voice again. "Actually," Tessa said, surprising herself, "if you wouldn't mind, I'm parked quite far." A genuine smile crossed Wade's face. "Not at all, I'm Wade, by the way, Wade Young." He gestured to his shirt. "As you can probably tell." "Tessa," she replied, deliberately omitting her last name. In her position, anonymity was sometimes preferable. They walked side by side, keeping a respectful distance between them. "You work in one of these buildings?" Wade asked conversationally. Tessa nodded. "Yes, over at Horizon." She gestured vaguely, not specifying her role. "You clean offices?" "Among other things. It's my business, small, but it keeps the lights on." Wade shrugged. "Single dad, so I take what jobs I can get when I can get them." There was no self-pity in his voice, just matter-of-fact acceptance. Tessa found herself unexpectedly intrigued. "How old is your child?" she asked, his face transformed at the mention of his child, eyes lighting up despite the fatigue. "Lily's 7, smart as a whip and twice as quick to correct my grammar." Tessa laughed, the sound surprising her after the tension of moments before. "Sounds like she keeps you on your toes." "Every single day," Wade confirmed with a proud smile. They reached a sleek black Tesla and Tessa pressed her key fob. The car chirped and illuminated, cutting through the darkness. Wade whistled appreciatively. "Nice ride." "Thank you for walking me," Tessa said, suddenly feeling awkward. This man had shown simple human kindness, expecting nothing in return. In her world of corporate sharks and strategic networking, such genuine interactions were rare. "No problem. Get home safe." As Tessa slid into her driver's seat, she found herself reluctant to end the encounter. "Your cleaning company, do you have a card?" Wade looked surprised but reached into his back pocket, producing a slightly bent business card. "It's nothing fancy, but the phone number works." Their fingers brushed as she took the card, and Tessa felt an unexpected flutter in her chest. She told herself it was just gratitude for his kindness, nothing more. "Maybe Horizon could use your services," she said, already knowing she'd be calling for more than professional reasons. Wade smiled again, that same genuine expression that seemed to reach his eyes. I'd appreciate that. Good night, Tessa. Good night, Wade. As she drove away, Tessa glanced in her rearview mirror, watching as he walked back to what she now recognized as a cleaning van with faded lettering. A strange feeling settled in her chest, a mixture of gratitude and curiosity about this man who had stepped up to help a stranger without hesitation. Little did she know that this brief encounter would alter the course of both their lives. The next morning found Tessa in her corner office, 40 floors above the city streets. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, she could see the entire downtown skyline, a daily reminder of how far she'd come from her humble beginnings. At 34, she was one of the youngest CEOs in the tech industry, and certainly one of the few women. The journey had been arduous, filled with twice the expectations and half the room for error of her male counterparts. As her assistant, Marcus, rattled off her day's schedule, Tessa's fingers played with the slightly bent business card on her desk. And the board wants your input on the Westfield acquisition before they proceed, Marcus finished, looking up from his tablet. Tell them I'll have it by end of day, Tessa replied absently. Is everything all right? Marcus asked, noticing her distraction. Tessa straightened in her chair. Yes, fine. Actually, I need you to look into something. This cleaning service, she handed him Wade's card. Find out everything you can about them. Their client list, reviews, capacity, financials if possible. Marcus took the card, one eyebrow raised. Are we unhappy with our current cleaning contractor? Just gathering options, Tessa replied non-committally. I'd like the information by lunch. Once alone, Tessa sighed, questioning her own motives. Was she really considering changing the company's cleaning service because a kind stranger had walked her to her car? Or was there something else drawing her to learn more about Wade Young? Across town, Wade was rushing through his morning routine, already running late for Lily's school drop-off. Daddy, you forgot to sign my permission slip. Lily called from the kitchen table, her dark curls bouncing as she waved a paper frantically. Wade, toothbrush still in mouth, hurried over. Sorry, Lilipad, what's this for again? The Science Museum. Remember? Lily rolled her eyes dramatically. I told you like 100 times. Right, the Science Museum, Wade mumbled, quickly scrawling his signature. He glanced at the amount requested, $25 for the trip. His heart sank a little, but he forced a smile. All signed. Finish your breakfast while I get dressed, okay? 10 minutes later, they were in his truck, Lily chattering about dinosaur fossils and space exhibits, while Wade mentally calculated how to stretch this week's budget. The cleaning job last night had helped, but Lily was growing fast, and the cost of keeping her clothed, fed, and involved in school activities seemed to increase weekly. Miss Peterson says we're going to see a real astronaut suit, Lily exclaimed. That sounds awesome, kiddo, Wade replied, pushing aside his financial worries to focus on his daughter's excitement. After dropping Lily at school, Wade headed to his first client of the day, a small law firm that needed weekly cleaning. As he worked, his phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Young's Cleaning Service, he answered professionally, wedging the phone between his ear and shoulder as he continued mopping. Mr. Young. This is Marcus Wright, calling on behalf of Horizon Technologies. Wade paused, the name immediately bringing to mind the woman from last night, Tessa. Yes, our CEO is interested in discussing your cleaning services for our offices. Would you be available for a meeting today at 2 p.m.? Wade's mind raced. Horizon Technologies was one of the largest companies in the city. A contract with them would be transformative for his small business. Absolutely, I can make that work. After arranging the details, Wade finished his current job in record time, then rushed home to shower and change into the one decent button-down shirt he owned. As he drove to the Horizon building, he couldn't help wondering if Tessa had something to do with this opportunity. She had mentioned the possibility last night, but he'd assumed it was just polite conversation. The Horizon Technologies building was intimidating, all glass and steel reaching toward the sky. Wade parked his truck in the visitors section, painfully aware of how out of place it looked among the luxury vehicles. He straightened his tie, grabbed his folder of client testimonials and service packages, and headed inside. The receptionist directed him to the 40th floor, where Marcus greeted him and led him to a conference room. "Miss Blackburn will be with you shortly," Marcus informed him. Wade nodded, trying to look more confident than he felt. He arranged his materials on the table, then stood to admire the view of the city. From this height, everything looked different, smaller, more manageable somehow. It's quite something, isn't it? He turned at the sound of the familiar voice. Tessa stood in the doorway, looking entirely different from the night before. Gone was the nervous woman from the dark parking lot. In her place stood a commanding presence in a perfectly tailored navy suit, her dark hair swept into an elegant updo. "Tessa," he said, then quickly corrected himself. "I mean, Miss Blackburn, thank you for considering my services." A small smile played at her lips. "Tessa is fine, Mr. Young. Then please call me Wade." She gestured for him to sit and took a seat across from him. "I'm guessing you didn't realize who I was last night." Wade's eyes widened slightly. "I knew you worked at Horizon, but no, I didn't realize you were the CEO," she finished for him. "Most people don't until they're told. It works to my advantage sometimes." Wade nodded, feeling slightly out of his depth but determined not to show it. "Well, I appreciate the opportunity to bid for your business, regardless of how it came about." Tessa leaned forward. "Let's be honest, Wade. I looked into your company this morning. You're small, just you and 2 part-time employees. Our current cleaning contractor has a staff of 50. Wade's heart sank, but he maintained his professional demeanor. "What we lack in size, we make up for in quality and attention to detail." "I personally oversee every job, and I don't doubt that," Tessa interrupted gently. "But our facility is over 200,000 square feet. It would be impossible for your current operation to handle it." Wade felt the opportunity slipping away. "I understand. Thank you for your time, Miss Blackburn." He began gathering his materials, trying to hide his disappointment. "I'm not finished," Tessa said, her voice stopping his movements. "I have a different proposition for you." Wade looked up, confused. "We have several smaller satellite offices across the city. They're currently serviced by various local companies with mixed results. I'd like to consolidate them under one reliable vendor." She slid a folder across the table. "These 5 locations would be manageable for a company your size, with room to grow if you prove capable." Wade opened the folder, scanning the information with disbelief. These weren't charity cases, they were legitimate Horizon properties, and securing them would more than double his current client base. "Why?" he asked before he could stop himself. Tessa's professional mask slipped for a moment, showing a glimpse of the woman he'd met in the parking lot. "Because you saw someone who needed help and you acted. That speaks to your character, and I believe in rewarding good character." She straightened, her CEO persona returning. "Plus, your references speak highly of your work quality and reliability. This makes business sense for both of us." Wade looked at the contract included in the folder. The terms were more than fair, they were generous. "I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept, and that you'll start next week." Their eyes met across the table, and Wade felt something shift between them, a connection that went beyond professional courtesy. "I accept. Thank you, Tessa." She smiled, and for a moment neither spoke. The silence wasn't awkward but filled with something neither was ready to acknowledge. Finally, Tessa stood. "Marcus will handle the paperwork details. I look forward to hearing how things progress." As Wade left the building with the signed contract in hand, he couldn't quite believe what had just happened. This opportunity would change everything for him and Lily. All because he'd offered to walk a woman to her car, never suspecting she was a CEO who could transform his struggling business with a single decision. What he didn't know was that Tessa stood at her office window, watching his truck exit the parking garage, wondering why this brief connection with a kind stranger felt more meaningful than any she'd had in years. The following weeks saw Wade's business undergo a rapid transformation. The Horizon satellite offices proved to be perfect clients, prestigious enough to attract other business, yet manageable enough for his small team. He was able to hire 2 more full-time employees and purchase much-needed new equipment. For the first time in years, he wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. He could afford to take Lily to a real restaurant for her birthday instead of cooking at home. He could replace her outgrown shoes without worrying about the electric bill. The constant pressure of financial insecurity began to ease, allowing him to breathe more freely. Tessa, meanwhile, found herself thinking about Wade more often than she cared to admit. She requested weekly reports on the satellite office maintenance, scanning them for mentions of Young's cleaning service. Occasionally, she would reach out directly with a brief email or text message, ostensibly to check on his progress. Their exchanges remained professional but friendly, neither willing to acknowledge the underlying current between them. Until one evening when Tessa was working late again and her phone buzzed with a text from Wade. "Don't suppose you're still at the office," his message read. "I'm handling the West Side satellite personally tonight. Thought you might need another escort to your car if you're burning the midnight oil." Tessa smiled at her phone, surprised by how her heart quickened. They hadn't seen each other in person since that meeting in her conference room nearly a month ago. "As a matter of fact, I am," she replied. "But I'm at the main office downtown. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then reappeared. That's not too far. I could swing by when I'm finished here." "Should be about an hour." Tessa hesitated, her finger hovering over the screen. This felt like crossing a line from professional to personal, yet she found herself typing. "That would be nice. I'll be here." For the next hour, she found it difficult to concentrate on her work, glancing at the clock more frequently than necessary. When her phone rang with the security desk announcing Wade's arrival, she took a moment to check her appearance in the reflection of her computer screen. Wade stepped off the elevator looking better than she remembered. He'd clearly come from work, still in his company polo shirt and work pants, but he'd made an effort to freshen up. His hair was slightly damp, as if recently washed. "This feels familiar," he said with a smile as she met him in the reception area of the executive floor, "though the surroundings are a bit different. Slightly better lighting," Tessa agreed, returning his smile. "Thank you for coming all this way." "Happy to." He glanced around the empty office. Ready to go, as they rode the elevator down, Wade filled the silence with updates about how the Horizon contract had helped his business. Tessa listened, genuinely pleased for him, but also enjoying the sound of his voice in the enclosed space. "And how's Lily?" she asked as they exited the building. Wade's expression softened at the mention of his daughter. "She's great. The science museum trip was a hit. Now she wants to be an astronaut or possibly a paleontologist. It changes daily." "She sounds wonderful," Tessa said sincerely. "She is." Wade hesitated, then added, "She'd like to meet you, actually. I might have mentioned you a few times." Tessa felt a flutter in her stomach. "You talk about me." They reached her car, and Wade turned to face her, his expression earnest. "I told her about the kind CEO who gave my business a chance. She says you're like a fairy godmother, but with better shoes." Tessa laughed, the sound echoing in the nearly empty parking garage. "I'd like to meet her too." A moment of silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken possibilities. "Tessa," Wade began, his voice lower. "I want to thank you properly for everything you've done for me and Lily. Would you consider having dinner with us this weekend? Nothing fancy, just a home-cooked meal." The invitation hung in the air between them. Tessa knew accepting would definitively shift their relationship beyond the professional boundary she'd maintained for so long. Yet the thought of spending time with Wade and meeting the daughter he clearly adored appealed to her more than she could have anticipated. "I'd love to," she said finally. The smile that spread across Wade's face was worth whatever complications might arise from her decision. Saturday evening arrived with unexpected nervousness for both Wade and Tessa. Wade had spent the day cleaning his modest apartment, cooking, and trying to manage Lily's escalating excitement about meeting Daddy's special friend from work. "Is she like a princess?" Lily had asked while helping set the table. "Since she's the boss of a whole big building," Wade chuckled. "Not exactly a princess, Lilipad. She's just a normal person with an important job." Lily considered this. "But you said she's really pretty and smart." "She is," Wade admitted, feeling his cheeks warm. "Do you like her?" Like her?" Lily pressed, her 7-year-old curiosity relentless. Wade carefully arranged the napkins. "I respect her very much." "That's not what I asked, Daddy." Before Wade could formulate a response that wouldn't reveal too much to his perceptive daughter, the doorbell rang. Tessa stood on the other side, looking beautiful but noticeably different from her CEO persona. She wore simple jeans and a soft blue sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. She held a small gift bag and a bottle of wine. "Hi," she said, suddenly feeling as nervous as a teenager. Wade stared for a moment before finding his voice. "Hi, come in." As soon as Tessa stepped inside, a blur of energy bounded toward them. Lily skidded to a stop in front of Tessa, her dark curls bouncing and her eyes wide with curiosity. "Are you Daddy's fairy godmother?" she asked without preamble. Wade groaned softly. "Lily, remember what we talked about. Proper introductions." Lily straightened and offered her small hand. "I'm Lily Young. It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Blackburn." Tessa couldn't help laughing as she shook the little girl's hand. "The pleasure is all mine, Lily, and you can call me Tessa." She held out the gift bag. "I brought you something." Lily's eyes lit up as she accepted the gift. After a prompting look from her father, she said, "Thank you. May I open it now?" "Of course." Lily carefully removed the tissue paper to reveal a book about women astronauts and a small telescope. "Your dad mentioned you were interested in space," Tessa explained. Lily clutched the gifts to her chest, looking up at Tessa with undisguised adoration. "This is the best present ever." "Daddy, look." "That's very thoughtful, Tessa," Wade said, touched by her consideration. "Thank you." The evening progressed with an ease that surprised them all. Wade had prepared a simple but delicious meal of homemade lasagna and salad. The conversation flowed naturally, with Lily dominating much of it, eager to share her school adventures and scientific discoveries with their guest. Tessa found herself charmed not only by Lily's precocious intelligence, but by watching Wade as a father. He listened attentively to his daughter's stories, offering encouragement and gentle corrections with such natural patience. It was a side of him that made the attraction she'd been fighting even harder to ignore. After dinner, Lily insisted on showing Tessa her room, proudly displaying her collection of rocks and science project ribbons. When she yawned widely for the third time, Wade announced it was bedtime. "But I'm not tired," Lily protested, even as her eyelids drooped. "How about I read you a story from your new book before you go to sleep?" Tessa offered. Lily agreed eagerly, and Wade watched from the doorway as Tessa sat on the edge of Lily's bed, reading about Sally Ride's journey to space. His chest tightened with an emotion he hadn't allowed himself to feel in a long-time hope for something beyond just surviving day to day. Once Lily was tucked in and drifting off to sleep, Wade and Tessa moved to the small balcony off the living room, wine glasses in hand. "She's amazing," Tessa said, gazing out at the city lights. "You've done a wonderful job with her." Wade leaned against the railing. "It hasn't been easy, but she makes every struggle worth it." "If you don't mind me asking," Tessa began cautiously, "what happened with her mother?" Wade took a sip of his wine before answering. "Kate left when Lily was 2. She wasn't ready for the reality of parenthood, the responsibility, the constant demands. One day she just said she couldn't do it anymore and she was gone." He shrugged, an old pain visible in his eyes despite his casual tone. "She sends birthday cards sometimes." "I'm sorry," Tessa said softly. "Don't be. Lily and I have done all right." He turned to face her. "What about you?" "I've read about your professional achievements, but the articles never mention your personal life." Tessa gave a small laugh. "That's because there isn't much to mention. Building a career like mine doesn't leave a lot of room for relationships. At least, that's what I've told myself." "And is that the real reason?" Wade asked, his gaze steady. Tessa considered her answer carefully. "Partly. The other part is that most men are either intimidated by my position or see me as some kind of trophy to be won. Neither makes for a genuine connection. And which category do I fall into?" Wade's question was direct but gentle. Tessa met his eyes. "Neither. That's what makes you different." The air between them seemed to charge with electricity. Wade set down his wine glass and moved closer to her. "Tessa," he said, his voice low, "I want to be completely honest with you. I'm attracted to you not because you're a CEO, but because of who you are." The woman who looked relieved when a stranger offered to walk her to her car. The executive who gives people chances they might not deserve on paper. The person who brought my daughter the perfect gift after hearing about her interests once. Tessa's heart pounded in her chest. "Wade, I know there are complications." he continued. I'm a single dad with a struggling business that's only now finding its footing. You run a major corporation. On paper, we don't make sense. Since when does anything worthwhile make sense on paper? Tessa countered, stepping closer to him. Wade smiled, relief and hope mingling in his expression. Slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, he leaned in. Their lips met in a gentle kiss that quickly deepened, months of unspoken attraction finally finding expression. When they separated, both slightly breathless, Wade rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that since the night we met in that parking lot. Tessa laughed softly. Even when I almost pepper-sprayed you, especially then, you looked fierce. They spent the rest of the evening talking, sharing stories of their pasts and dreams for their futures. As the night grew late, Tessa reluctantly prepared to leave. At the door, Wade took her hand. I'd like to see you again, properly, not just checking in about cleaning contracts. Tessa squeezed his hand. I'd like that too, very much. The weeks that followed were filled with cautious discovery as Wade and Tessa navigated the beginning of their relationship. They kept things private at first, mindful of both professional boundaries and Lily's feelings. Their dates were simple but meaningful: dinner at restaurants where they wouldn't likely be recognized, walks in parks where Lily could play while they talked, quiet evenings at Wade's apartment after Lily was asleep. Each moment deepened their connection and confirmed what they both began to suspect. This was something rare and precious. 3 months after their first dinner together, Wade invited Tessa to Lily's school science fair. It would be their first public appearance together in a setting where people knew them, particularly people from Lily's life. Are you sure? Tessa asked, aware of the significance. The other parents will talk. Wade took her hand. I'm sure. Lily wants you there, and so do I. Unless you're not ready for that step, Tessa thought about it. In the corporate world, she'd learned to guard her privacy zealously. Dating an employee, even one who worked for her indirectly, would raise eyebrows. But the thought of missing Lily's big moment felt worse than any potential gossip. I'll be there, she promised. The science fair was crowded with proud parents and nervous children. Lily's project, a demonstration of how different cleaning solutions affected various surfaces, showed Wade's influence while reflecting her own scientific curiosity. As they stood beside her display, Lily beaming under their combined attention, Wade's arm casually around Tessa's waist, they didn't notice the school principal approaching until she was right beside them. Mr. Young, the woman greeted warmly. Lily's project is impressive as always. She turned to Tessa with curiosity. I don't believe we've met. I'm Principal Ramirez. Tessa Blackburn, she replied, shaking the woman's hand. The principal's eyes widened slightly in recognition. As in Horizon Technologies. My goodness, we're honored to have you at our little science fair. Lily jumped in proudly. Tessa helped me research my project. She knows all about business things, like how important it is to test products before selling them. Principal Ramirez looked between the three of them, clearly trying to determine the relationship. Wade saved her the trouble. Tessa and I have been dating for a few months now, he explained simply. The principal's smile was genuine. How wonderful. Well, Miss Blackburn, you couldn't have chosen a better family to be involved with. The Youngs are special people. After she moved on to the next display, Tessa felt a small hand slip into hers. She looked down to find Lily gazing up at her with serious eyes. Does this mean you're going to be my stepmom someday? Lily asked. Tessa froze, caught completely off guard by the direct question. Wade looked equally stunned. Lily, that's not something, he began, but Tessa squeezed his hand to stop him. She knelt down to Lily's level. Lily, your dad and I care about each other very much. I care about you too, but big decisions like that take time. What I can promise is that no matter what happens, I'll always be your friend. Lily considered this answer carefully before nodding. Okay, but if you did become my stepmom, that would be pretty cool. As they walked back to their cars after the fair, Wade apologized for Lily's bluntness. She doesn't have much of a filter, he said ruefully. I hope she didn't make you uncomfortable. Tessa shook her head. She didn't, she just made me think. About, Wade prompted. When she didn't elaborate, Tessa stopped walking and turned to face him. About what I want, about the future. She took a deep breath. Wade, these past months have been the happiest I can remember. I love spending time with you and Lily. I love how you make me feel not like a CEO or a trophy, but just like me. Wade's expression softened as he pulled her close. I love you, Tessa. I think I have since that night in the parking lot. The words hung between them, honest and vulnerable. Tessa's eyes filled with unexpected tears. I love you too, she whispered, the truth of it washing over her with beautiful clarity. And I'm not afraid of what that might mean for the future. 1 year later, the Horizon Technologies annual charity gala was in full swing. The ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and the jewelry of the city's elite. Tessa moved through the crowd in an elegant black gown, stopping to chat with board members and important clients. Wade watched her from across the room, still sometimes amazed by the dual nature of the woman he loved, the commanding CEO who could silence a boardroom with a raised eyebrow, and the tender soul who read bedtime stories to Lily with different voices for each character. He adjusted the cuffs of his tuxedo, still not entirely comfortable in such formal attire, but willing to endure it for tonight's special occasion. Tessa caught his eye and excused herself from her current conversation, making her way to his side. Is everything ready? She asked quietly. Wade nodded, a nervous smile playing at his lips. Marcus has it covered. Are you sure about doing this here in front of everyone? Tessa took his hand, no longer concerned about who might see the gesture. Absolutely. My life isn't divided anymore, Wade. Business and personal, it's all just life. Our life. The MC announced that the CEO would like to say a few words, and Tessa made her way to the small stage. After thanking everyone for their support of the Children's Hospital fundraiser, she paused, her expression softening. Many of you know that Horizon has undergone some changes this past year. We've expanded our community outreach programs, improved our family leave policies, and created a small business incubator to help local entrepreneurs. She smiled. What you might not know is that these initiatives were inspired by a chance encounter in a dark parking lot, where a kind stranger offered to walk a nervous woman to her car. A murmur went through the crowd as Wade felt countless eyes turn toward him. That stranger was Wade Young, Tessa continued. He had no idea I was the CEO of Horizon. He was simply being the man he is, caring, protective, and genuinely good. That night changed my life in ways I couldn't have imagined. She gestured for Wade to join her, and he made his way through the crowd, taking her outstretched hand as he stepped onto the stage. Tonight, I'm proud to announce that Young's Environmental Services Wade's company has been selected as Horizon's primary facilities maintenance provider for all our properties nationwide. She smiled at the applause. This decision wasn't made because of our personal relationship, but despite it. Wade's company earned this contract through exceptional service, innovative green cleaning techniques, and a business model that prioritizes fair wages and advancement opportunities for employees. Wade squeezed her hand, emotion making it difficult to speak. What had begun as his small cleaning business had grown into a substantial operation with over 50 employees and a reputation for excellence. Tessa's mentorship had been invaluable, but he'd built it through his own hard work and determination. And now, Tessa said, her voice softening, if you'll indulge me one more moment of personal privilege. She turned to Wade fully, taking both his hands in hers. A year ago, a very wise 7-year-old asked me a question I wasn't ready to answer. Tonight, I'd like to address it properly. From the front row, now 8-year-old Lily bounced excitedly in her seat, already guessing what was coming. Tessa continued, her eyes never leaving Wade's. You walked into my life when I didn't even know I was lost. You showed me that success isn't measured by corporate achievements, but by the love we give and receive. You and Lily have become my home, my family, my everything. To the astonishment of the gathered crowd, Tessa Blackburn, CEO of Horizon Technologies, dropped to one knee in her designer gown. She produced a platinum band from a hidden pocket. Wade Young, will you marry me? The room fell completely silent. Wade stared down at her, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Then a smile broke across his face, that same genuine smile that had first captured her heart. Yes, he said simply. With all my heart, yes. As he pulled her to her feet and into a kiss, the ballroom erupted in applause. Lily raced onto the stage, throwing her arms around both of them, completing their family circle. Later that night, as they drove home with a sleeping Lily in the backseat, Wade turned to his fiancée. "You know, most people would say the man should be the one to propose." Tessa laughed softly. "When have we ever done things the conventional way? Besides, I couldn't wait any longer." "I've been carrying that ring for months." Wade shook his head in wonder. "From scared stranger to family. All because I decided to walk you to your car." Tessa reached across to take his hand. Some of the best journeys start with a single step. As they drove through the city streets toward home, toward their future, together, Tessa reflected on the unexpected path her life had taken. One act of kindness in a darkened parking lot had led to the greatest love she'd ever known, and she would never, ever forget it.